Captain Jake Miller stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the message on his screen. The words still seemed impossible to believe. The Zephyrian Empire wanted to meet with humans. Not just any humans, they wanted to meet with him and his crew. Jake had been fighting aliens for 3 years now. The Vex Collective had attacked human colonies without warning. They were machines mixed with living parts that wanted to destroy everything human. Jake and his ship, the Aurora's Edge, had fought them in dozens of battles. His crew was small but brave. They had won fights that bigger ships had lost. Now the war was over. Humans had won, but Jake never expected this invitation. "Captain," said Dr. Lisa Carter, walking up to him. She was the ship's expert on alien life. "Are you sure about this? The Zephyrians have never talked to any other species before." "That's exactly why we need to go," Jake replied. He was a tall man with brown hair and kind eyes. "If they want to talk to us after what we did to the Vex, it must be important." Ben Torres, the communications officer, turned from his station. "Sir, I've been studying their language. It's very formal. They use lots of rules about respect and honor. We need to be careful not to make them angry." Jake nodded. Ben was young but smart. He could learn languages faster than anyone Jake knew. "What else do we know about them?" "They look like dragons," Lisa said. "But they walk on 2 legs like humans. They have long tails that they're very proud of. The message says we'll meet their princess." Jake thought about this, dragons. He had seen pictures from other ships that had spotted Zephyrian vessels from far away. They were beautiful but scary. Their ships looked like they were made of crystal and metal. "How long until we reach their planet?" Jake asked. 2 days, Ben answered. "The planet is called Zephyros Prime. It's covered in crystal cities." Jake walked to the big window that showed space. Stars moved past them as they traveled faster than light. "Get the crew ready. Full dress uniforms. We represent all of humanity now." 2 days later, Jake stared at the most beautiful planet he had ever seen. Zephyros Prime looked like a giant gem floating in space. Cities made of crystal covered the surface. They caught the light from the sun and threw rainbows across the sky. "Incoming message," Ben said. His voice was nervous. "Put it on screen." The screen showed a face that made Jake's breath stop. The alien was beautiful in a way that was both human and not human. She had scales that changed color like oil on water. Her eyes were large and golden. Most amazing of all was the long tail behind her. It moved like it was alive and sparkled with its own light. "I am Princess Lyrazeth of the Zephyrian Empire," she said. Her voice was like music. "Captain Miller, you and your crew are welcome on our world. Follow the guide ships to the Royal Palace." Small crystal ships appeared around the Aurora's Edge. They were so pretty they looked like flying jewels. Jake's ship followed them down to the planet. The palace was huge. It was built into a mountain of pure crystal. Towers reached up to the clouds. Gardens filled with strange and beautiful plants surrounded the buildings. Everything sparkled and shone. Jake, Lisa, and Ben walked down the ramp of their ship. The air smelled like flowers and electricity. Hundreds of Zephyrians waited for them. They all had different colored scales and tails of different sizes, but none were as magnificent as the princess. Princess Lyrazeth stood at the front of the group. She was tall, maybe 7 feet. Her scales were silver and blue. Her tail was longer than Jake was tall and covered in patterns that seemed to move. When she walked, her tail swept behind her like a royal robe. "Captain Miller," she said, walking toward him, "I have heard of your victories against the Vex. You and your people fight with great courage." Jake bowed slightly. He hoped it was the right thing to do. "Princess, thank you for inviting us." "We are honored to be here." The princess smiled. It was a beautiful smile but showed very sharp teeth. "Come. My father wishes to meet the humans who defeated our ancient enemies." As they walked toward the palace, Jake noticed something strange. Every Zephyrian they passed stared at the princess's tail. Some looked impressed. Others looked worried. A few looked sad. "Princess," Jake said carefully, "your tail is beautiful. Is it important in your culture?" The princess stopped walking. Her tail moved in what Jake thought might be surprise. Around them, other Zephyrians went very quiet. "You notice my tail," she said slowly. "Most aliens are afraid to look at it. Or they look with greed, wanting to own something so beautiful. I look with respect," Jake said. "In my culture, we believe beautiful things should be honored, not owned." For a moment, the princess said nothing. Her tail changed colors, becoming more golden. The other Zephyrians made soft sounds that might have been approval. "That is a good answer, Captain Miller," she said finally. Perhaps there is hope for friendship between our peoples after all. They continued walking. Lisa leaned close to Jake and whispered, "Did you see how her tail changed color? I think it shows her emotions." Jake nodded but kept his eyes forward. He had the feeling that this meeting was more important than just making friends. Something in the princess's voice suggested she needed help with something. Something that had to do with her beautiful, mysterious tail. As they entered the Crystal Palace, Jake wondered what the Zephyrian Emperor really wanted from humanity. Whatever it was, Jake had the feeling it would change everything. The throne room was the most amazing place Jake had ever seen. The ceiling was so high he could barely see the top. Crystals of every color grew from the walls and floor. Light danced everywhere, making rainbows that moved like living things. Emperor Valdris sat on a throne made from a single giant crystal. He was even larger than his daughter, with deep red and gold scales. His tail was massive and covered in scars that told stories of old battles. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire room. "Captain Miller," the Emperor said, "you have done something no other species has managed. You defeated the Vex Collective completely. For this, all civilized worlds owe you a debt." Jake bowed deeper this time. "Your Majesty, we only did what we had to do to protect our people." Modest, the Emperor said with what might have been approval. "I like this quality in humans." Princess Lyrazeth stood beside her father's throne. Jake noticed that her tail seemed to glow brighter when she was in the throne room. Other Zephyrian nobles stood around the edges of the room. They all watched the princess's tail carefully. "There is much we must discuss," the Emperor continued. "But first you must understand our ways. Princess, show our guests the meaning of honor." The princess stepped forward. Her tail rose behind her like a banner. She began to move in what was clearly a ritual dance. As she moved, her tail changed colors and patterns that seemed to tell a story. Sometimes it was silver like starlight. Sometimes it was blue like deep water. Sometimes it was gold like fire. "This is the tail presentation," Ben whispered to Jake. "I read about it. It's only done for the most honored guests." Jake watched in amazement. The dance was beautiful but also seemed very difficult. The princess's tail was clearly heavy. Sweat appeared on her forehead as she moved. When she finished, she was breathing hard. "Thank you, Princess," Jake said. "That was incredible. Your tail is not just beautiful, it's part of who you are." Again, the room went quiet. The princess looked surprised. Even the Emperor leaned forward on his throne. "You understand," the princess said softly. "Most beings see only the beauty. They do not see the burden." Jake frowned. "Burden?" The Emperor gestured for everyone to sit. Crystal chairs grew from the floor for the humans. "Captain Miller, there is much you do not know about our people. A Zephyrian's tail is not just for beauty. It holds our memories, our history, our very souls." Princess Lyrazeth sat across from Jake. Her tail curled around her chair. In the light, Jake could see that it wasn't just scales. There were crystal patterns running through it that glowed with soft light. "These crystals store information," she explained. "Every important memory, every lesson learned, every piece of wisdom from my ancestors is in my tail. It grows heavier with each generation." "How heavy?" Lisa asked. As a scientist, she was fascinated. "My tail weighs as much as 3 humans," the princess said sadly. "And it grows heavier each year as I learn more and add my own memories to it." Jake began to understand. "That's why the dance was so difficult." "You're carrying incredible weight." "Yes," the Emperor said, "and here is our problem. In our culture, the next ruler must find someone who can carry their tail. It is a test of worthiness. The person who can bear the weight of royal memory is the one who deserves to help rule." The princess's tail turned dark blue. Jake was learning that this meant sadness. "I am the last of my family line," she said. "I have no brothers or sisters. When my father dies, I must rule. But I cannot rule alone. Our laws demand that I find someone strong enough to carry my tail." "How many have tried?" Ben asked. 47, the princess said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Princes from 7 different worlds have come to court me. None could carry my tail for more than a few minutes. Most could not lift it at all." Jake felt a chill. What happens if no one can carry it? "The royal line ends," the Emperor said grimly. "The empire falls into chaos. Without legitimate leadership, the noble houses will fight each other. Our enemies will see weakness and attack, like the Vex did to humans before you grew strong," the princess added. Jake looked at his friends. Lisa was thinking hard about the science of it all. Ben looked worried about the political situation. Jake felt something else, a desire to help. "May I ask you something personal, Princess?" Jake said. "Yes." "Why did you show me your tail dance today? You could have just talked to us." The princess was quiet for a long time. Her tail slowly changed from blue to silver. "Because when you first saw my tail, you looked at it with respect, not fear or greed. I hoped, maybe humans might be different." "Different how?" "Strong enough," she said simply. "Your people defeated the Vex through determination and courage, not just weapons. Maybe human strength is different from other species." The Emperor leaned forward. "Captain Miller, I will speak plainly. Would you be willing to try? To see if human strength can bear what others cannot?" Jake's heart pounded. They were asking him to try to carry the princess's tail. If he succeeded, what would that mean? If he failed, he would just be another name on a list of those who weren't strong enough. "When would this test happen?" Jake asked. "Now, if you are willing," the princess said. "I understand if you are afraid. The weight has broken bones before." Jake stood up. He thought about his crew, about humanity's place in the galaxy, about this beautiful and sad princess who carried the weight of an empire on her shoulders. "I'm not afraid," he said, "but I want to understand what I'm agreeing to. If I can carry your tail, what does that mean for both of us?" The princess stood as well. Her tail began to glow brighter. "It means you would be strong enough to help me rule. Strong enough to share the burden of leadership. Strong enough to save my people." Jake looked into her golden eyes. He saw hope there, and fear, and something that might have been the beginning of trust. "Then let's find out how strong humans really are," he said. The room erupted in whispers from the Zephyrian nobles. The Emperor smiled for the first time since they had arrived. The princess's tail turned bright gold. "Very well," she said. "Captain Jake Miller of Earth, will you attempt to carry the weight of Zephyros?" Jake had never felt anything so heavy in his life. When Princess Lyrazeth placed her tail across his shoulders, it was like carrying a small mountain. The crystal patterns in her scales glowed brighter as they touched his skin. Strange images flashed through his mind, memories that weren't his own. He saw the first Zephyrian cities being built. He felt the pride of ancient emperors. He experienced battles fought thousands of years ago. The weight wasn't just physical, it was the weight of an entire civilization's history. His knees shook. His back screamed in pain. But Jake held on. Around him, the Zephyrian nobles watched in amazement. No one had carried the princess's tail for more than 2 minutes. Jake had been holding it for 5 minutes and was still standing. "Incredible," the Emperor whispered. "Human bones must be stronger than we thought." Jake wanted to answer, but he couldn't speak. All his energy was focused on not falling down. Sweat poured down his face. His arms felt like they were on fire. Just when he thought he couldn't hold on any longer, alarms began to sound throughout the palace. The princess quickly lifted her tail from Jake's shoulders. He collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. Red lights flashed from the crystal walls. The sound of the alarms was deafening. "What's happening?" Jake shouted over the noise. A Zephyrian soldier ran into the throne room. His scales were gray with fear. "Your Majesty, ships are attacking the outer defense stations. It's the Vex Collective." Jake's blood went cold. The Vex were supposed to be defeated. Their main fleet had been destroyed months ago. "That's impossible," he said, getting to his feet. "We wiped them out." "Not all of them," the Emperor said grimly. "Some must have escaped and rebuilt their forces." Princess Lyrazeth moved to a crystal panel on the wall. When she touched it, the air above them filled with images. Jake could see space around the planet. Dozens of Vex ships were attacking the Zephyrian defenses. The enemy ships looked like giant insects made of metal and meat. They were ugly and wrong in every way. "They're breaking through our outer ring," a Zephyrian general reported through the communication system. "Our defense fleet is outnumbered 3-1. Jake watched the battle on the floating images. The Zephyrian ships were beautiful, but they fought like they were dancing. The Vex ships were brutal and direct. They were winning. "We need to help," Jake said to Lisa and Ben. "Get back to our ship. Now." "Wait," Princess Lyrazeth said. "I'm coming with you." "Princess, no," the Emperor said firmly. "You must stay safe in the palace." "Father, our people are dying," she replied. Her tail turned bright red with anger. "I will not hide while they fight for our world." Jake admired her courage, but he was worried. "Princess, space combat is dangerous." "Your tail." My tale contains the battle memories of every Zephyrian commander who ever lived, she said. I can coordinate our fleet better than anyone, but... She looked down at her heavy tail. I cannot do it alone. The neural strain of connecting to so many ships while carrying this weight would kill me. Jake understood immediately. You need someone to carry your tail while you focus on the battle. Yes. But no Zephyrian is strong enough to do both. Carry my tail and fight in a space battle. But a human might be, Jake said. The Emperor looked between Jake and his daughter. Outside, explosions lit up the sky as Vex ships broke through another defense line. This is madness, the Emperor said. You barely carried her tail for a few minutes in a safe room. In battle, with stress and movement. Your Majesty, Jake said respectfully. Humans are strongest when we're protecting others. Let me try. Princess Lyriseth stepped close to Jake. Her golden eyes were fierce with determination. If you do this, you might die. The neural connection during battle. It has never been attempted with another species. Jake looked at the images of the battle. Zephyrian ships were exploding. Good people were dying. He thought about his own crew, who were probably already running to their ship. He thought about all the humans back on Earth who were counting on him to make friends, not enemies. Princess, he said, 3 days ago your father asked if I could carry your tail forever. Maybe it's time to find out. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Father, I'm going to the command ship. Captain Miller will assist me. Lyriseth, the Emperor began. The decision is made, she said. Her tail turned gold again. If we fail, at least we fail fighting together. 20 minutes later, Jake was on board the Zephyrian command ship. It was huge and made entirely of crystal and metal. The bridge was a circular room with crystal panels everywhere. Princess Lyriseth stood in the center, her hands on a control surface that glowed with her touch. Captain Miller, she said, when I connect to the fleet, my tail will become incredibly heavy. The neural energy flowing through it will make it too much for even you to carry normally. You'll need to help me distribute the weight. Jake moved behind her. Her tail was already glowing brighter than he had ever seen it. How do I do that? Hold it close to your body. Let the crystal patterns touch your skin. The connection might hurt, but don't let go. Jake wrapped his arms around her tail. Immediately, pain shot through his body like lightning. Images flooded his mind. Not just memories now, but real-time information from dozens of ships. He could see through the eyes of Zephyrian pilots, feel their fear and determination, understand their tactical plans. Good, the princess said through gritted teeth. Now we fight as one. Through the shared connection, Jake felt Princess Lyriseth reach out to the entire Zephyrian fleet. Her mind touched every ship, every pilot, every gunner. She began to coordinate them like a conductor leading an orchestra. The effect was immediate. The Zephyrian ships stopped fighting like individuals and started fighting as a unified force. They moved in perfect formations, struck at weak points, protected each other with precision that seemed impossible. But the Vex adapted quickly. Their ships began to change formation, trying to break the Zephyrian coordination. They're learning, Jake said, the words somehow spoken by both him and the princess at the same time. Then we must learn faster, they replied together. Through their connection, Jake felt the princess's brilliant mind working at incredible speed. She was analyzing the Vex tactics, predicting their moves, planning counters to their counters. But the strain was enormous. Jake could feel her weakening under the mental load. I can't hold this much longer, she whispered. Yes, you can, Jake said, pouring his own strength into their connection. Humans never give up, and right now you're as human as I am. Together they pushed their joined consciousness into one final desperate gambit. If it worked, they would save the planet. If it failed, they would both die trying. The battle for Zephyros Prime was about to reach its climax. Jake could feel Princess Lyriseth's strength fading. Through their strange connection, he shared her exhaustion as she coordinated hundreds of ships at once. The Vex fleet was huge and getting closer to the planet every minute. Princess, Jake said, still holding her tail against his body, we need to try something different. This defensive fighting isn't working. I know, she replied, her voice weak, but tradition says we must protect the planet by fighting around it. We cannot risk taking the battle elsewhere. Through the connection, Jake felt something new, the ancient memories stored in her tail. Thousands of years of battle experience flowed through him. He saw how Zephyrians had always fought, honorably, defensively, beautifully. It had worked for centuries, but humans fought differently. "Princess, what if we ignore tradition?" Jake asked. "What if we attack them directly instead of waiting for them to come to us?" "That would be—" She paused. "Dangerous, reckless, very human." "Exactly." Suddenly, the ship shook as Vex weapons hit it. Through the crystal windows, Jake could see enemy ships getting closer. One of the palace towers exploded in the distance, sending crystal fragments flying into space. "Your Majesty?" came the voice of Emperor Valdris through the communication system. "The Vex have broken through the fourth defense ring. They will reach the palace within an hour." Princess Lyrazeth looked at Jake, her golden eyes filled with desperation. "My father is right. We're losing. The traditional methods aren't enough." "Then let's try something new," Jake said. "Trust me. Trust us." The princess closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they glowed with the same light as her tail. "Captain Miller, my father is about to ask you something that has never been asked of an alien before. Are you ready?" Before Jake could ask what she meant, Emperor Valdris's image appeared above them. The old emperor looked tired and worried, but his voice was strong. "Captain Miller," he said formally, "I invoke the ancient law of emergency bonding. In times of great danger, when traditional leadership is not enough, the royal line may bond with a worthy warrior from any species. The question I ask you now will determine the fate of our empire." Jake felt his heart racing. Around them, the battle continued. Explosions lit up the sky. "Captain Jake Miller of Earth," the emperor continued, "will you accept the permanent neural bond with my daughter? Will you carry her tale not just in this battle, but forever? Will you share the burden of ruling our people and protecting our worlds?" The room went completely silent except for the sounds of distant weapons fire. Jake knew that everyone on every ship was listening. This moment would be remembered forever. "Your Majesty," Jake said carefully, "what exactly does this bonding mean?" Princess Lyrazeth turned to face him, still connected by her tail. "It means that the crystal patterns in my tail will permanently link with your neural pathways. We will share thoughts, memories, strength. We will never be truly apart again, and we will rule the empire together as equals." "The risk is enormous," the emperor added. "No alien has ever attempted this. The bonding might kill you. Even if you survive, you will be changed forever. You will be part Zephyrian, part human, and something entirely new." Jake looked at Princess Lyrazeth. Her beautiful face was filled with hope and terror. He could feel her emotions through their connection, her love for her people, her fear of failure, her growing trust in him. "If we do this," Jake asked, "will we be strong enough to defeat the Vex?" "I believe so," she replied. "The bonding will allow us to combine human adaptability with Zephyrian knowledge. We could coordinate the entire fleet as if it were a single organism." Through the windows, Jake saw another Zephyrian ship explode. Good people were dying while he made this decision. "Captain," came Ben's voice through his communication device, "the Aurora's Edge is ready to help. What are your orders?" Jake thought about his crew, about Earth, about the princess beside him, about the empire that might fall if he said no. Then he thought about what humans did best: adapting, surviving, protecting others even when it seemed impossible. "Your Majesty," Jake said to the Emperor, "I accept." "Let's save your people." "Jake, wait," came Lisa's voice through the communicator. "The neural changes could be irreversible. You might not be fully human anymore." Jake smiled, still holding the princess's tail. "Lisa, I stopped being just human the moment I decided to carry her burden. Some things are more important than staying the same." Princess Lyrazeth moved closer to him. "Are you certain? Once we begin, there is no going back." "I'm certain," Jake said. "Let's become something new together." The princess placed her hands on Jake's face. Her tail, still in his arms, began to glow brighter than ever before. The crystal pattern started to move, flowing like liquid light toward his skin. "Begin the emergency bonding," the Emperor commanded. Pain unlike anything Jake had ever felt shot through his body. It was like being struck by lightning and burned by fire at the same time. The princess's memories flooded into his mind, not just seeing them this time, but living them. He experienced her childhood, her training, her loneliness, her hope. At the same time, his own memories flowed into her. She saw Earth, felt human determination, experienced the desperate battles against the Vex that had made humanity strong. The crystal patterns from her tail spread across Jake's skin like living tattoos. His human neural pathways merged with Zephyrian memory crystals. For a moment, he thought he might die from the overload. Then suddenly, everything clicked into place. Jake opened his eyes and saw the universe differently. He could feel every ship in the fleet as if it were part of his own body. He could think at the speed of light and plan battles centuries in advance, but he was still human at his core, still adaptable, still determined to protect others. Princess Lyrazeth gasped beside him. She was experiencing human emotions and thoughts for the first time. "This is what courage feels like," she whispered in amazement. "And this is what wisdom feels like," Jake replied, understanding the weight of royal responsibility. Together, as one being with two bodies, they reached out to the entire Zephyrian fleet. But this time they also reached out to human ships that were coming to help. The Aurora's Edge and 3 other human vessels were approaching fast. "All ships," they said with one voice that was both human and Zephyrian, "prepare for total assault. We're not defending anymore. We're ending this war right now." The bonding was complete. Now they would find out if their combined strength was enough to save both their peoples. Jake felt like he had been reborn. Through the neural bond with Princess Lyrazeth, he could think faster and see farther than ever before. Her tail no longer felt heavy in his arms, it felt like a part of his own body. The crystal patterns that now covered his skin glowed with the same light as hers. "Ready?" the princess asked, though Jake could feel her thoughts as clearly as his own. "Ready," he replied. Together, they reached out to every ship in the combined human and Zephyrian fleet. It was like conducting an orchestra of 1,000 instruments. Each ship, each pilot, each weapon became part of their shared consciousness. The Vex fleet was massive, but it fought like the machines they were, predictable, logical, cold. They expected the defenders to keep fighting defensively around the planet. They were not prepared for what happened next. "All ships," Jake and Lyrazeth commanded as one. "Attack formation Omega. Human vessels lead the charge. Zephyrian vessels follow and exploit weaknesses." The Aurora's Edge, with Ben and Lisa aboard, shot forward at maximum speed. Behind it came the other human ships. Moving in patterns that seemed wild and random to the Vex, the enemy tried to calculate their approach vectors and failed. Because humans didn't fly like computers, they flew with instinct and creativity. The Zephyrian ships followed in perfect formation, their crystal hulls glowing like stars. When the human ships created chaos in the Vex ranks, the Zephyrians struck with precise, coordinated attacks that shattered enemy vessels like glass. Through the bond, Jake felt Princess Lyrazeth's amazement at human fighting styles. "Your people fight like artists," she said. "No pattern, no tradition, just pure adaptation." "And your people fight like surgeons," Jake replied, watching Zephyrian beam weapons cut through Vex armor with incredible precision. Together, we're unstoppable. The battle turned completely around in minutes. The Vex had expected to fight one species or the other, not both working as a single force. Their tactical computers couldn't process the combination of human chaos and Zephyrian order. But the Vex had one last desperate plan. Their command ship, a massive thing the size of a small moon, began to charge up a weapon that could destroy the entire planet. "Planet killer," Jake and Lyrazeth said together, feeling the energy building in the enemy ship. "We have to stop it." "The weapon will fire in 3 minutes," Emperor Valdris reported from the palace. "Even our combined fleet cannot destroy something that large in time." Jake felt panic from the princess, but his human mind was already working on a solution. Through the bond, he shared his crazy idea with her. "That might work," she said slowly, "but it requires us to get very close to their command ship. Close enough that we might not escape." "Princess," Jake said gently, "some things are worth the risk." She smiled, and he felt her love and trust flow through their connection. "Then let's save our worlds." Together, they took direct control of the Zephyrian command ship. The massive crystal vessel turned toward the Vex command ship and accelerated to ramming speed. "All ships clear the area," they commanded. "We're going to use the ship's crystal matrix as a giant EMP bomb." "Sir," Ben's voice came through the communicator from the Aurora's Edge. "That will destroy your ship too." "Not if we time it right," Jake replied. "Lisa, I need you to calculate the exact moment when the crystal matrix will overload." "Working on it," Lisa's voice was tight with worry. "Jake, this is insane even for you." "Insane plans are the only ones that work against the Vex," he replied. The Zephyrian command ship flew straight at the enemy vessel, which was now so close that it filled the entire sky. The planet-killer weapon was almost ready to fire. "Now," Jake and Lyrazeth said together. They triggered the ship's crystal matrix to overload just as they flew past the Vex command ship. The explosion was like a miniature star being born. The electromagnetic pulse from the crystal matrix shut down every Vex system within 1,000 kilometers. The planet killer weapon died before it could fire. The command ship went dark and began to drift. All around it, smaller Vex vessels lost power and became sitting ducks for the human and Zephyrian fleet. Jake and Lyraseth managed to escape in a small crystal shuttle just seconds before their command ship exploded. They watched from a safe distance as the combined fleet finished off the powerless Vex ships. "Is it over?" Lyraseth asked, her tail curled around Jake as they sat together in the shuttle. "It's over," Jake confirmed, feeling the last Vex ship explode through their shared connection with the fleet. An hour later, they stood before Emperor Valdris in the crystal throne room. The old emperor looked at them with wonder and pride. Jake's skin still glowed with crystal patterns, and he could feel Lyraseth's thoughts as clearly as his own. "You have saved not just our world, but our entire civilization," the emperor said. "The bonding has created something new in the galaxy, a true partnership between species." "Father," Princess Lyraseth said, "Jake and I wish to make a formal request. Speak." "We want to abdicate the traditional royal line," Jake said. "Instead, we propose creating a new form of government, a partnership between the Zephyrian Empire and humanity." The emperor was quiet for a long moment. "You would give up the throne?" "We would transform it," Lyraseth replied. "The old ways, where one species rules alone, are not enough for the challenges we face. The universe is changing. We must change with it." Jake stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I came here as a human captain. I leave as something new, a bridge between our peoples. Let us build something that has never existed before, a true alliance where both species are equal partners." The emperor smiled. "Very well, Princess Lyraseth, Captain Jake Miller. I name you the first dual rulers of the Zephyrian Human Alliance. May your bond bring peace to the stars." 3 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of a new kind of ship. Half human technology, half Zephyrian crystal engineering. Beside him, Princess Lyraseth commanded with confidence and wisdom that combined both their species' strengths. The alliance was growing. Other species had asked to join after seeing how humans and Zephyrians worked together. The galaxy was becoming a safer, more cooperative place. "Any regrets?" Lyraseth asked, her tail glowing softly with contentment. Jake looked at his hands, still marked with crystal patterns that showed his permanent bond with her. He thought about Earth, about his old life, about everything he had given up. "None," he said honestly. "Carrying your tail taught me something important." "What's that?" "Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from bearing a burden alone, but from choosing to share it with someone else." Princess Lyraseth smiled and leaned against him. Through their bond, Jake felt her happiness and love, emotions that belonged to both of them now. Outside the ship's windows, human and Zephyrian vessels flew together in perfect harmony, protecting the peace they had built together. The proud princess had shown him her tail, and he had chosen to carry it forever. In doing so, they had both found something neither could have achieved alone. They had found a future worth fighting for.